let's do this. Do you want me to behave or not?
It's entirely up to you. It's your interview. Okay, today I'm speaking to Keri Beevis, who lives in Norfolk with her two cats, Ellie and Lola. She is an international bestseller with Bloodhound books with M for Murder, D for Dead, Deep Dark Secrets, and Dying to Tell already out, and Trust No One, which is released on Monday. Keri also co-hosts a weekly podcast with her co-author Stuart James. And hi, Keri, would you like to tell us about your new book?
I would. I'd love to tell you about my new book. And I've just remembered I was going to wind you up when I came on air and I forgot. I was so preoccupied with my broken mug that I've just received and trying to figure out if I could get the handle stuck back on, that I completely forgot that I was supposed to come on in my Goonies mask, which I had the other week. So yeah, completely forgot. So I'm not pranking you today. Thank you for having me on your show. And yeah, a little bit about my new book. So Trust No One, it's out in paperback at the moment and it's released on Kindle on Monday. You can pre-order it now, 99p. It's also on Kindle Unlimited as well. And it's another dark and twisty thriller. And the storyline it follows a lady called Olivia Blake, and it's set in Norfolk, same as Dying to Tell, but there's two stories are unconnected, complete standalone. And Olivia is an estate agent, and at the start of the story, she receives a note. She finds it pinned under her windshield, and it basically says, a long, long time ago, you did a bad, bad thing, and warns her that a past sin is about to catch up with her. She doesn't know what she's done. She thinks back and she's can't remember anything bad that I've ever done in my life. And so she's completely stumped. Is it a prank? Is somebody just trying to wind her up? But then a few days later, she goes to show a house. And when she gets to the house, she finds a man tied to the chair in the kitchen and he's been set on fire. And this is kind of the prelude to lots of creepy things happening as she tries to uncover what this bad thing is she's supposed to have done. She finds out it's connected to something that happened at school, that some of her old school friends have got similar notes. They do know what they're supposed to have done. And yeah, it kind of goes from there. Lots of twists and turns, lots of red herrings. I try to keep you guessing till the end, who the culprit is, who's behind it. And I think it's probably a little bit darker than my other books.
Yep, I agree.
So
and that leads me to my next question. Your fellow author and good friend Patricia Dixon said that your books are getting darker. Is this conscious?
That's a really interesting question. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure if I have an answer for it. Are they consciously getting darker? I think I've always had that dark side inside of me. I also have a nice light and fluffy side. I think kind of having talked with one of my fellow Bloodhound authors, Zoe Caldwell, who's just released the fantastic book Predator. Have you read that one?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Yeah. I've been talking with her, and obviously she writes rom-coms as well as Zoe May, and I think I've got a rom-com inside of me as well. However, or certainly a funny story. However, when it comes to thrillers, I do like them quite dark, and sometimes I do worry how dark is too dark. But then, having said that, looking at some of my fellow Bloodhound authors, I think I've got quite a way to go.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think the one that I have just finished as well, because there's another book I've been working on, I think that probably is even darker. So I remember when I was writing that, Trish did actually say to me, she read some of it and she was like, I feel like you're starting to cross a line here. Are you sure you want to go into this territory? But then I showed it to Heather and Heather was like, nah, it's fine.
Yeah. Trish writes quite nice generally, doesn't she? So
she does. I think I'm kind of slowly tempting her over to the dark side, though. But I mean, as a reader, Donna, I mean, the darker the better for you, surely.
yeah, well, I mean, you know, not all the time. It is nice to read something else occasionally, but yeah, we read because we want to read the extremes of life, you know, that isn't real, but is you know, it gets our heart racing and stuff. So yeah, the darker the better generally.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, just because we write dark stuff doesn't mean that we're horrible, dark people.
No.
Um, well, I say that, you don't know what I've got hidden upstairs. But I think, I mean, I remember, obviously I'm a huge animal lover. I like people generally. Um, and I like to think that I'm a fairly good person. That said, yeah, I do have an obsession with kind of like horror movies and serial killers and all the kind of gruesome things that happen, and kind of I've got a very overactive imagination, and I think that's not just authors who are like that. I think a lot of thriller readers are probably like that too. And I remember one of my neighbours saying to me, I think it was after she read D for Dead, um, which was definitely darker than M for Murder. And she said to me, she said, I just can't. She said, but you save animals and you're a nice, sweet person. She said, and then I read your books and I just can't. There's all this darkness inside you. I'm like, I am a nice, sweet person. Apart from when I'm winding Stu up.
He's your friend, it's fine. Well, I
Definitely.
mean, I went and done a forensic science degree from reading, so yeah, it's, you know, and that has some pretty gruesome stuff. So
It is. But do you, I mean, again, that's kind of come probably from an interest in sort of the darker side of things that you like.
well,
And
it was from Kathy Wright, who is a forensic anthropologist, which is Bones, and then it was from Bill Bass, who created the Body Farm, which are
yeah,
pretty much the two, you know, grossest and darkest bits of forensics you can get. So yeah, definitely.
yeah. So I think it's kind of, in a way, is kind of healthy to have these dark interests, because if not, we wouldn't have people interested in these fields. Because like I grew up reading about lots of different serial killers and things, and my sister was probably even more obsessed with it all than I was. I mean, my sister went through college with the nickname the Grim Reaper because she was that obsessed with death. And I mean, she's actually gone on to a career in the police,
Oh wow.
and she works quite high up and puts away some fairly nasty individuals. So kind of having that passion for the darker things in life doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to follow down a path and become dark yourself.
um, so what's your writing process, and what do you find hardest about writing?
Um, my writing process, yeah, that's always a good question. I like to live with my characters for a while before I commit them to paper. I'm not. I don't know if you've heard the terms sort of plotter and pantser. Um, I've always described myself as a pantser, though I do think there is an element of plotting to my books. When I get an idea, it's normally from a seed. I try to build it up, and before I commit it to paper, I'll get the characters in my head. And it's not just wanting to simply know how I picture them, sort of, are they got dark hair, blonde hair, are they bald, do they have a beard, do they wear glasses, that kind of thing. It's actually just almost knowing those people like they're your friends, and knowing what their mannerisms are, almost kind of what they smell like. And just everything about them, the way that they speak, how they might pronounce words, just generally all the things that you do pick up about people when you're talking to them. And I need to know them that intimately so they do feel like real people to me, because when I do then start writing, it's really important to me to try and bring those characters to life off the page. And so when I do then start writing, I've generally got an idea of a plot. I normally have an idea of how it's going to start, how it's going to finish and a rough idea of how I'm going to get from A to B. That said, quite often it ends up going off into lots of different directions that I don't realise when it's going to go along the way, which is where the pantsing really comes in. And again, quite often, like with the book that I've literally just finished writing, I got to, I think it was a chapter from the end, and I suddenly thought, hang on, I've got a really good idea of how I could do a twist that will hopefully be a really good twist. And then I just went back and kind of tweaked things. So I'm kind of orderly, but not too orderly, if that makes sense. And it's just a case of, I tend to find, I see a lot of writers who get up early and write early in the morning. I am not like that at all. As Stu will tell you, I have to drag myself out of bed to do the podcast. I'm very much a night owl, and I do find that I quite often do my best writing late at night. And I can write pissed as well. I'm quite capable of writing some good scenes when I've had a bottle of wine. That said, I do always edit sober. And yeah, so I tend to also, I don't do drafts. I tend to write as I go. And if there's anything which I'm unhappy with, or I don't think is right, even if it's as simple as a sentence or a whole paragraph or whatever, I'll tend to tweak as I go along. So when I've finished, yes, I'll go back and do a read through and try and pick up on like any errors, and there might be a few inconsistencies, but generally it's fairly polished and ready to go off to my publisher.
Awesome.
And sorry, I was going to say, that you asked the second part to that, didn't you, about what the hardest part of writing is? I don't find writing hard, if I'm completely honest. And I don't want that to sound arrogant, because it's not. Obviously, I have my slump days where you kind of sit down at the keyboard. Some days you'll sit down at the keyboard and it's almost like your brain is just going straight to your fingers and you're not even thinking about what you're typing. The words are just coming out and you don't even know what direction the story's going in. But then you also have other days where you'll sit there and you'll rewrite a sentence like 20 times, or you'll just be staring at that cursor and thinking, where do I go next? Where do I go next? And I know a few people do tend to ask questions about kind of how do you deal with kind of if you get a writer's block or whatever. I do tend to agree with, I can't remember who it was, one of the guests we had on our show, Linwood Barclay, I think it was, who said he doesn't think that writer's block is really a thing. And I do kind of agree with him. I think we have slumps where we find it more difficult to get going on a certain day. But I think you just have to almost power through it, and you almost have to force the words out. And so let's compare it to kind of like if you're sitting on the loo and you need to go, you need to, sometimes you do just need to kind of like really push through. Sorry, I'm totally lowering the tone of your interview. But you just have to almost, I'm giving her the giggles now. You have to almost just power through it, and the bad words will keep being bad words, but eventually they will become good words. And there's nothing I have found, because obviously I have now reduced my hours drastically in the day job. There's nothing motivates you more than knowing that you've got to pay your mortgage to get those words out on the paper. So the writing itself, not really anything, there's not really anything I find difficult as such. I think it's probably the most difficult part of writing for me is actually when it's finished and trying to get the word out there. Obviously, I've got a great publisher who do their best to try and promote and get my book in front of as many people as possible. But yeah, just trying to get the book out there in front of as many readers. And something you stressed yourself on your page the other day, I saw the importance of getting those readers to actually leave reviews. Those reviews are so important to us. They are our bread and butter. They're our advertising. The more reviews we have, the more our books are seen. And any author will tell you that they are literally gold dust to us. I mean, obviously word of mouth is great, and that's really, really appreciated. That's another huge important one. But there's nothing more frustrating than when somebody says, oh, I really loved your book. Yeah, I don't really do reviews, because you really, really need those reviews. You can't, if you don't have them, then your book just isn't going to get seen. And I'm not saying that you have to have all 5-star reviews. I think it's important to have a good mix, and it's good for readers to be honest as well. If they don't like something, that's not a problem, as long as they're not cruel about it. But then if people write cruel reviews, I always think it says more about them than the author or the book they're reading anyway. But honest reviews are fine, but just review. It's so important. So yeah, that is probably the hardest part of writing, is just getting the book out there and getting people to review.
Yeah, I'll keep drumming it home on my page, I think, because I didn't realise probably until the last couple of years, but now I religiously review. Even if I'm reading an arc, I put it in my notes on my phone, so it's ready to copy and paste when it's due. So yeah, I'll keep hammering that home as well.
No, I know girls like I know you guys are all fantastic. I don't think it can be said enough. People like you and people like Daniela, Curry Mora, people. There's just so many of you, and Kate and Zoe and Chloe who are on the podcast with us, and so many others as well. The girls at the Fiction Cafe. Everybody is so supportive and so good about helping us spread the word. And without people like you, our job would be so much more difficult. So thank you.
That's all right. Okay, so what's the favourite character you've written so far?
That's difficult. I've still got, I think my 2 favourite books that I've written so far are definitely Dying to Tell and Deep Dark Secrets. I think Deep Dark Secrets possibly edges it for me. There was something, when I wrote that book, I was making a very conscious decision to go from kind of one type of thing to another. And it was very much the type of book that I saw myself kind of writing long term. And Purity Island, that place was real to me. When I'd finished writing that story, those characters and that island, I felt I don't know, I felt homesick for Purity Island, and I felt as if I was bereaved because I missed the characters so much. I was a little bit like that with Jack and Lila as well in Dying to Tell. I really, really missed those characters when I'd finished writing the book. But yeah, I think for a favourite set of characters, I loved Nell, and I loved writing her story. I liked how she kind of started off with a lot of weaknesses, but she became stronger through the book. And yeah, and I love Alex. I think Alex is one of my favourite characters I've ever written. I loved Michael as well. And I've got to give a shout out as well, going back to the Rebecca Angel books. The most fun character I have ever written is Vic Boaz. He is just so wrong in every way. He's the most un-PC, lazy, sexist pig of a man. And he obviously has all these mishaps and stuff. He was kind of the comedy element coming out in the stories. And writing Vic was so much fun because I would sit there and I'd put him in certain situations, and then I would think, what would be the worst possible thing that you could do in this situation? And then I would just go for it. So he was a great character to write. But in terms of actual favourite characters, they're the characters I created in Deep Dark Secrets. Nell and Alex, I think, were definitely my favourite characters. Do you have a favourite character of the ones that I've created?
I like Vic as well, just because he's so awful, but he doesn't need to be. It just is. So yeah.
He has a lot of fans.
Yeah, I know, considering he's a pig, it's quite surprising, but yeah, it's just fun to read.
Yeah, he is.
Would you like to see any of your books made into films or TV series?
Oh God, yes, that is absolutely the dream. Yeah, I mean, a Netflix series or a Netflix movie. I've got a huge amount of respect and time for Netflix because they have just paved the way forward for so many new filmmakers and writers. So they would be the dream to work with, to be perfectly honest, and they churn out so much good stuff. And bad stuff to start with, but it gradually just got better and better. They just kept going until they got it right. So that is, to me, as well as kind of having, I mean, obviously I'd like to have a #1 bestseller in the UK or the US, but that is pretty much ultimately the dream, is to see something that I have written, something I've created in my head, brought to life on the big screen. So yeah, kind of a mini series or a film, absolutely.
Yeah, actually, everyone I've spoke to so far has said exactly the same thing, especially Netflix. They want a Netflix miniseries. So, yeah, I don't know who the people that control these things are, but we'll have to see if we can have words.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think you would have struggled more throughout the lockdown without the support of your fellow authors?
Yes, absolutely. It's been strange because I'm still actually, I have a day job still. I have reduced the hours drastically, but I haven't actually been there since middle of March because I work in the travel industry, and obviously the travel industry has pretty much collapsed. There's been several points throughout the year where I've wondered if I'm even going to have a job to go back to, and it's still uncertain. I obviously, that's not so scary for me because I've done very well with my books, but it's still, I've got a lot of friends who work there. I would really miss the interaction with them if I wasn't to go back, and also yeah, it's, I think you need that interaction and everything with people. So it's been a strange year, as it obviously has been for all of us, and my fellow writers, yeah, that I've got to credit them because I think I would have found it really, really difficult without them. I mean, hands down, the #1 person who, and I think you know who I'm going to say here, who I have to kind of give credit to is Patricia Dixon. She, without her, I don't know how I would have got through the last, we literally speak every day. And yeah, it would have just been so difficult because I live alone. It's just me and 2 cats, and yeah, I've got family, and I've been in touch with some friends, but Trish has kind of almost been my constant through everything. Heather Fit as well, who works for Bloodhound, she's been great. We speak most days as well, and obviously Stewie. got to say Stewie and Dan Scotto as well. I think they're probably the 4, Trish the most, but all 4 of those have been just brilliant for me through lockdown. And yeah, how long is this madness going to continue?
Yeah, don't even. Oh. With no restrictions, what would your perfect day look like?
That's an interesting question. I'm a lazy sod, so probably one of my perfect days is just probably I don't know, would I go out somewhere or would I just hang around watching movies? I think my perfect day, I'd probably go out with friends, maybe enjoy a day out on, if it was a nice hot day, go out on the Norfolk Broads on a boat for the day. That's always good fun. We'll go to the beach or something. But then I'm very much a homebody, so it would be coming home, having nice food, snuggling up with my cats, in my PJs, bra off, Netflix on, watching a couple of cracking movies, bottle of wine open, yeah, just snuggled up. So I think certainly at this time of year, that's how I prefer to spend my whole days. Yeah, I'm fairly easy to please.
That's good to know. You seem to get into lots of funny scrapes and mishaps. Would you consider writing those into a book or a book about just those?
Yeah, I would. Obviously, I publish or post on social media some of my mishaps, like the time that I had the Sainsbury's delivery and he had the crate sitting outside the back door, which is quite a steep drop. And I managed to actually, when I was bending down to get the stuff out of the crate, fall into the crate. And I mean, that's just one incident. There's been so many things that have happened over the years. Being caught by the window cleaner with my pants down, sitting there having a poo. Falling over, like I said, I was saying on the podcast this morning to Stu about the time that I kind of slipped over on a wet road in front of loads of cars of traffic in the middle of the street. I think I would definitely consider putting them into a book. I did a while back briefly speak to my publisher, and I've never done anything about it because they did say they would be interested in looking at it, maybe getting all of the anecdotes that I write together and writing some new ones and putting them kind of into a book, like a coffee table book where people can just read about the mishaps of my life, because I know a lot of people find them quite amusing. I also think I mentioned earlier about how I'd quite like at some point to maybe try and do something like a rom-com, and I've certainly got plenty of hilarious situations, some real, some made up, that I could put into a book. Certainly kind of like with vibrators going off at inopportune moments. So yeah, watch this space. I've definitely, it's something that I've definitely been thinking about, and while I think my next couple of books will still be thrillers, I have definitely got something like that in me. So at some point I will write it, and hopefully you will read it.
Absolutely, no question. I will read it. You don't even have to tell me anymore. I'll read it now. It's I can imagine it would be great. So yeah, sort of thrillers. Just write that. It's fine. What 4 famous people would you invite to a dinner party?
Oh, okay, this is interesting. Right, Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters, because he is the man. He is just my hero. I love Dave Grohl. Going and seeing Foo Fighters was one of the best experiences of my life. So Dave Grohl would have to be there, just for the cool dinner party guest. I think I would have. Right, you need some totty there. So mine is the lovely Dan Stevens from Legion, and he was in Eurovision as well. Have you seen Eurovision? No. Yeah, love a bit of Dan Stevens. So he could come too. I think you'd need some entertainment there. I think Graham Norton would probably be a good fun dinner party guest. So I'd have Graham Norton there, and yeah, I think I need an author there. I need a female there as well. So I think I'm going to go for, yeah, there's this famous author called Patricia Dixon. I think I need her there with her dirty toilet stories and things.
That's just
I think that would actually be quite an entertaining group of guests. Yes, definitely.
That sounds like fun, actually. Yeah, if you do that, then invite me as well, even just as a
Yeah, definitely.
I think
well, I was going to say it would. I'll tell you. I was also thinking you could also do an author dinner party as well, which I think if I was going to create my dream kind of author dinner party, I don't know that I would necessarily go for the authors whose books I love and admire and everything, because if you don't know them, that's not necessarily going to be a load of fun. I think it would be quite fun to have a dinner party with some of the authors who I do actually know and have a laugh with. So if I was going to do my dream author dinner party, I think it would be Trish. I'm going to include Heather because I know she's writing at the moment, and she will be published one day. So Trish Dixon, Heather Fitt. Obviously Stu would have to be there because we need him playing his guitar and telling his dad jokes. John Richter, I'd have him there, and Dan Scotto as well, because Dan Scotto and John Richter, I don't know if you know, they have a bit of a bromance going on.
Oh,
and yeah, those two make me laugh so much. So I'd have them. It kind of, yeah, but then you'd want Dunk there with his purple sofa.
Yep.
And Zoe as well, and maybe Valerie Dickinson. God, there's too many.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could create a really good author dinner party.
Yeah, I know. I want one as well, with you, with Stu, with John, with Dunks, with Tony, with Mark Tilbury. But you know, maybe one day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I could definitely create a good blogger dinner party. So
yeah,
it'd just be easy. I just have like 5-star bar and Dan.
Yeah, be fine. And John. I love John as well. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Have you listened to his podcast?
No, I haven't listened to his podcast. It was very amusing when we had him on the show earlier. Yeah, and obviously my I have to say my absolute favourite lady when it comes to the book writing world, obviously the lovely Daniela Curry-Mora, and who sent me some lovely gifts earlier today. So I've still got that bottle of Prosecco there. Thanks, Dan.
Not for long.
And chocolates and flowers.
She's such a sweetie, isn't she?
She is just one of the nicest ladies, and she's been so supportive since she got in touch after she'd read, same as kind of you and some of the other girls did, after she'd read one of my books, and she's just been so supportive, and it's really nice to make friendships with people who've read your books and kind of get to know the readers and everything. I think that is just that's one of the real pleasures and joys of writing, is kind of opening these doors and getting to meet the readers, which I suppose years ago, before social media, you didn't really have that option. And credit to some of you girls, like I say, this year it's been fantastic because you've helped keep me sane as well. So thank you.
Likewise, actually, to be honest, with not only with reading your books, but you know, the interactions and stuff as well, and just the laughs as well, it's kept us sane. So you know, always thank you to all the authors as well, because it's helped.
Yeah, it's a really nice community. There's some lovely people in it.
Yes, absolutely, couldn't agree more. It's amazing. Can you tell us something surprising about yourself that you haven't already told Facebook?
There's not much left, is there? I think I'm an open book. Okay, I'm going to go quite serious with this one. Something surprising, because I'm hoping that this might actually serve as inspiration for some people. I left school with 1 O level, and it wasn't English. I left school with an O levels, not GCSEs and things. Yeah, I failed my English O level twice. Yeah, I'm a published author, and I guess it goes to show that even if you fail early in life, because I think it was a case of I was very young. My birthday's end of August, so I literally was the youngest person in my year at school. I didn't have an easy time at school. I was badly bullied. I was very, very painfully shy. I know that's difficult to believe now, but I had a really, really tough time at school. And because I was so shy, I would never ask questions. And I think I found things a lot tougher than a lot of the kids who were several months older than me. And I think also, and this is the same for my brother and sister as well, I think in our family we're all kind of late bloomers. I mean, they've kind of gone on and done really well for themselves. And I guess what I'm trying to say is work hard at school if you can, and try and get those qualifications, because obviously they will make life easier for you. However, don't ever see them as a restriction on what you want to achieve, because it is possible to continue to learn, same as you're doing. I mean, look at everything you're doing with kind of your forensic science and everything. You're doing that now and sort of pushing yourself forward, and you can still learn. It's never too old, and you should never give up. And if you've got a dream and there's something that you want to go for, no matter how many times people tell you that you can't do it, or it's an impossible dream, or it's just too way out there, or you're not qualified for it, work hard and anything is possible. So, as I say, sitting here, failed my English O-level twice, and I have now got my 5th published book coming out on Monday, and it's paying well enough that it pays all my bills now. So if you've got the dream, follow it. So in a roundabout way, that is kind of my thing you didn't know about me. I failed all my exams.
Yeah, I am shocked actually. I can relate to the struggling at school, and because my birthday is 17th, so until my friend came along in high school, I was always the youngest, and then she beat me by 6 days, which didn't tell me about every year and call me old. But yeah, every year by 6 days. But yeah, I went to uni when I was 18, and I was just 18, so I was too young. I couldn't handle it. So yeah, I always swore that I'd go back and do it. And at 34, and now 37, I'm nearly finished. But yeah, it's been hard, but
yeah,
totally,
but you're doing it, and
yeah.
I've got so much admiration for people like you who actually do go back and you do put yourself through that, and it's just such an important thing. I think don't ever give up on your dreams. It doesn't matter how old you are. I mean, even if you're kind of 60, 70, 80 years old, if you've got something that you want to do in life, okay, fair enough, skydiving possibly not, but if you've got a book in you or something and you think I'd like, but it's too late now, it's not too late. Follow what you want to do, follow your heart, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything you're currently working on that you would like to tell us about?
Yeah, I have got another book which I have literally just finished writing. It's the one which I just said to you. It was supposed to be finished at the end of October. Fortunately, I'm a bit of a control freak, so I always allow myself a bit of extra space as to my publisher's deadline, which is probably a good job because, as I say, I got to the end of the book and then suddenly thought, yeah, I've just come up with a really good twist. I'm going to have to go back and rework it in now. And I kept thinking about it for a few days. So I kept thinking, shall I just leave it as it is? And then I thought, no, because I'm always going to regret not going back and putting that twist in. So I did. I've just finished writing that book. It's literally, I've done the read through. I've written the dreaded synopsis to send to my publisher and the blurb. And it's literally with one of my colleagues at the moment who's kindly offered just to do a read through. I just want somebody to do that read through before it goes to my publisher, just in case she picks up on anything which, because I've gone back and obviously adapted things to fit this twist in, just in case I've kind of gone wrong or something along the way, because I'd hate to be in a position where I sent something to my publisher and it wasn't ready or quite right for them. So yeah, that should be going off to my publisher in the next few days, and it's another Norfolk based tale. It's got a working title at the moment which I've called Every Breath They Take, but I'm not overly keen on that, so I'm probably looking to change that. Another Norfolk based tale, and I'm kind of, although all of my Norfolk books are unconnected and they're all complete standalones, I have started, I noticed with Dying to Tell, it was obviously very water based, obviously drowning, all that kind of thing. And then Trust No One, which is coming out on Monday, fire based. And I thought, yeah, and that's two of the elements there. So I kind of decided to kind of work with that theme when I came up with the plot for the one that I've just finished, which is air based. So that's all I will kind of say. I'll leave that for you to kind of make up your own mind about. But it's definitely, I think it is definitely darker. Again, it involves a serial killer, and it involves a DJ who works on a local late night radio show, who gets some sinister calls about things that may be happening. So that's all I can really say about it. My publisher hasn't read it yet. Obviously, I'm hoping they're going to like it and it will be accepted for publication. If it does get picked up, then it's due out in spring 2021.
Sounds great already, just from that little bit. It sounds fab, so that's exciting. And then I think finally, where can we find out about you and your books? And do you want to tell us more about the podcast that you do with Stu as well?
The podcast, we release it every Saturday, normally Saturday evening after Stu's edited it. It's something he actually got in touch with me, it was back July time. He'd had this idea he wanted to do a podcast, maybe do some author interviews, but also kind of cover all the kind of urban legends, ghosts, supernatural stuff, horror movies, because we're both big lovers of horror, and kind of get bloggers involved as well. And he initially, I think he was going to do it himself, but then he decided it might be more fun if he had a podcast partner. He'd actually asked some of the Bloodhound authors. I remember he put a request out to the Bloodhound authors, kind of, would anyone be interested in maybe coming on and talking to him? And I replied and said, yeah, I'll come on and talk to you. And he immediately sent me an email and he was like, oh, he said, I'm so pleased that you've said that you'll come on and talk. He said, but I was actually thinking, would you be interested in co-hosting it with me? So I was like, oh, right, okay. Hadn't really ever thought about that. So anyway, he talked me into it and we have such a laugh. It's not very professional because of me and Stu doing it. So we obviously do this podcast once a week. Stu has been absolutely phenomenal in securing us some fantastic guests. He just goes for everybody. I wouldn't be at all surprised if I found out that there were emails in Stephen King's inbox. He's literally, we've had some fantastic guests on. Some of my favourite ones who've been on so far, Angie Marsons, who had a book out yesterday. Congratulations, Angie. I think she's about number 5 in the chart, so that's doing phenomenally well. She was absolutely lovely. John Mars, he was another one. Loved speaking to John Mars. He was really interesting and down to earth. We've just had some brilliant ones. Robert Brinzer the other week, he was lovely. But some brilliant guests. Obviously, we've had Sherry LePenna, C.L. Taylor, Linwood Barkley, and then this week we've had Paula Hawkins, Girl on the Train. So Stu has done fantastically well to get some brilliant guests on, and we just have such a laugh. And yeah, just titting around, putting pranks on each other. And it's really good fun. So if you want to come and listen, then tune into us. It's Stu and Keri's, oh God, why did he give us such a long title? What is it? Stu and Keri's Reviews, News and Interview.
Yeah, that's it.
I think.
It's those words in some order, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But if you just type Stu and Keri, Keri, into Google, it does come up pretty much straight away. And you can listen to it on all of the podcast channels. You can listen to it on Spotify. Is it Radio Republic, where I quite often listen to it, but any of the channels you can get it on. So that's our podcast. That's the once a week thing. And then we have, what else did we want? We wanted links for me, didn't we? Obviously, I've got a brand new book, which is out on Monday. That's Trust No One, another standalone thriller set in Norfolk. like I've said, a bit darker and creepier than my normal stuff. And you can find out about me or follow me. I've got a new website, which I think is live now. We've had a few technical issues, keribeevis.com. And I'm on social media as well. I'm trying really, really hard on Instagram. Please forgive me if I'm being rubbish on there. Instagram and Twitter. I'm on both of those just under my name. And but I'm most prolific on Facebook. I've got an author page, or if not, just come find me and follow me kind of on my personal profile. I set a lot of my posts to public on there, so, and you can follow me on there as well.
Yeah, which is well worth doing because we get to see about your crazy life and laugh a lot. I have to remember not to read your posts at work because I can't really explain to my colleagues why I'm pissing myself.
I haven't actually had any mishaps lately. I need to have some mishaps, don't I?
Yeah, but I suppose if you can't go out, you can't really have any.
Oh, I don't know. I've had a few. I like I say, I managed to fall out of the door into the shopping crate. Didn't need to leave home for that one. And we've also had some interesting kind of things on walks, like when I got spooked with my mother in the woods, and we met those two very interesting people. and did you were you following me? This was a while back. This was actually before we went into lockdown. I'll have to find the post stuff again and share it. When I went for a walk in the woods with my mother, and we were walking along this path, and she suddenly grabs hold of my arm and she's like, "Oh my God, what's that?" Anyway, we looked, and it was it looked quite a big animal kind of curled up, and I was kind of like looking at it and thinking, what the hell is it? It's kind of dog size, and it was curled up, and I'm thinking, is it dead? Is it asleep? Is it going to get up and attack us? So we were both really freaked out. So Mum's going, "It's a bear." I'm like, "You do not get bears in the woods in Norfolk." And she was like, "Well, what is it then?" And I'm thinking, well, it's far too big to be, I don't know, kind of a rabbit or a hedgehog or something. So anyway, so we didn't know what to do. So we ended up actually really quietly creeping around this thing and thinking, should we turn back? And when we got the other side, it was a tree stump. So we see it now. If we go walking in those woods, we'll see it, and we'd be like, "Oh, look, there's the bear," and it does still look like a bear from one side. I have a picture.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and have a look. That's the sort of thing I would do, to be fair.
But yeah, we did. We literally, this tree log had us for about 5 minutes creeping around it, trying not to disturb it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely couldn't make that up.
Yeah.
So yeah, follow me on social media for more of my stupid stories.
Totally worth it. And definitely listen to the podcast because it's always fun. And anyone that wants to get involved, I would highly encourage you to do so because it's an absolute joy to do. Don't be scared. Stu and Keri look after you. It's always fun.
Yeah, we're nice. We're always good to talk to.
And you
apart from when obviously we have diva fits.
Real or imagined, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah, don't be scared. It's good fun. Yeah. So thank you very much, Keri.
Thank you very much for inviting me on. So yeah, I think this was my first Zoom video. So that kind of, yeah, you kind of fooled me a little bit, didn't you? Because you messaged me, you're like, "Will you come on and let me interview you?" And I'm thinking, yeah, she's just going to send some questions through, and I'll just kind of give her some answers, and she'll just publish them up on her page or whatever. And I think was it you'd interviewed Liam Hansen, Andy Roberts. You'd interviewed him a couple of days earlier, and you're like, "I can send you the questions through beforehand if you want to see what I'm going to be asking you." And I'm thinking, well, why would she? Obviously, I need the questions if she wants me to answer them. And then I was like, what exactly is this interview format? So I logged onto your page because they hadn't come up in my newsfeed for some reason, and I suddenly saw kind of like the video with Andy, and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, shit, what have I just agreed to?
Yep.
But yeah, I've agreed to do a live for Fiction Cafe in May next year. And yeah, God, me sitting there waffling for an hour to myself, that will be interesting. So yeah, this was